Out there is the Southern Ocean, and it's home to what's probably the world's most feared animal.
The thing is, plenty of people, including me, reckon he's one of the most misunderstood as well.
This is Port Lincoln, and it's from here that you can encounter one of the most in-your-face wildlife experiences you'll find anywhere on the planet. If you haven't guessed it yet, I'm going great white shark diving. Now, I've got to tell you, this doesn't exactly sit well with me. I mean, this cage is going to be between me and whatever's out there, but you only have to look online to see that great whites will have a good go at these bars if they feel like it. The thing is, they're an easy target and the media always has a field day when there's an encounter with humans. So I'm keen to know what our captain, Andrew Wright, who sees them every day, thinks.
Well, Tim, there's not too many animals on the planet that can eat you. I think that's probably the primal fear that humans have, is that there's this creature in the ocean capable of killing them. And that's something that runs through everyone's mind when they jump in the ocean. But look, at the end of the day, if you look at the statistics, you've got a better chance of dying driving to the ocean, let alone jumping in it.
So why then do people that want culling or different practices put in place, why and how do they get such a loud voice?
Well, they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, you know, and a lot of it just comes down to a misunderstanding. You know, people have got this idea that there's thousands of great whites and their populations are exploding and, you know, we've got to do something about it to maintain our position at the top of the food chain. Yeah. We just can't accept that there's creatures out there that are higher up the chain in certain areas than what we are.
What's their nature really like?
Oh, look, I mean, you'll see for yourself today. Well, hopefully you'll see for yourself today. I mean, of course, there's every chance that, you know, we might see a shark. Yep. I mean, there was 7 there yesterday and 9 the day before, but who's to say? You know, it's a big wide ocean, they've got a tail. But for the most part, they're just cruising around, just sussing it out. Yeah. And when there's a couple around at once, if there is a pecking order, they get on reasonably well together. But they do their own thing. Like, they're not a pack hunter, they're not scheming together to get the bait. They're doing their own thing, but they do that with respect to the other sharks that are around. But once we get out there, I mean, we go to Neptune Islands, and that's the largest colony of New Zealand fur seals anywhere in Australia. You know, there's the best part of 40,000 fur seals there. And if you're going to find a shark, you're going to go to the spots where the sharks go to eat. You know, I mean, they go to the Neptunes to feed on seals. It's right in the middle of the pupping season at the moment, so hopefully all the planets align and we have a good day. Enough about the sharks, Tim. I mean, you've obviously come a long way to see them. What's going through your mind?
Oh, look, I'm nervous but excited. Like a lot of the bigger predatory wildlife, once I've had an experience with them, I tend to think very differently of them or appreciate them. And, you know, I'm not sure what to expect out there, but I'm hoping for sharks. Yep. I'm hoping to see them doing their wild thing and come home with a bit more knowledge.
Yep, well, look, fingers crossed that a few turn up.
Yeah, I hope so.
Anyway, we'll enjoy the trip down. We've got a lovely day, beautiful weather. We've turned it on for you. Yeah, so that's half the trip.
It's a 3-hour ride out to Neptune, which gives you plenty of time to think about what's ahead.
We're looking for one of the ocean's largest predators, and I'm going to jump in the water and have a swim with it. Maybe something this size. Could you imagine that? Hey, Lizzie.
Hey, any waggle-eye eggs yet?
I haven't been up there today.
How long have we been waiting?
Oh, you tell me. We've tried many times, but this could be it.
Good luck.
Okay, I'm going up there, fingers crossed.
All right.
Here at the Australian Reptile Park, we're all excited about a special breeding program we have underway.
Is today the big day?
I'm checking on a female dwarf king brown snake.
What are you hiding in there, little girl?
2 months ago, I introduced a male into the female's enclosure.
There we go. In you go, mate. There she is. What do you reckon?
Dwarf king browns are also known as waggle-eyes and are incredibly rare. So captive breeding programs like this could be the key to their survival. I'm really excited to find out if we've got successfully fertilised eggs.
And today could be a world first. If she's going to lay eggs and if she has eggs inside her, it's got to be close to the date.
Amazing.
This is awesome, we've got eggs, but we're only halfway. Hopefully the eggs are fertile and this could be the first clutch to ever hatch.
Come on, darling. That's it. That's it.
Now I need to remove the eggs and set them up in an artificial incubator. Now in the wild, a snake might find a perfect spot that's climatically controlled to hatch those eggs. That can be difficult to provide sometimes within their enclosure, so we use a whole room that's the perfect temperature and perfect environment to hatch the little snakes.
There it is. The egg of a dwarf king brown. Little egg for a little snake. White gold, if you ask me.
I've been to Fraser Island off the Queensland coast a number of times, but I've never experienced anything like this. People come here for the long stretch of golden beach, lakes with crystal clear water and sunny skies. Not today though. This weather front looks like it could do some real damage. And whilst it might make most of the island's animals run for cover, there's one species I know that will just love it. They won't be out till after dark, so the best I can do is sit this out and wait. There's a familiar call I can hear. It's a red-backed toadlet, and they're all over the place. The trouble is finding one.
And the tricky part is they throw their call. So when you hear it just like that, doesn't mean he's right there.
There he goes. There he is. Look at that. And it's a red-backed toadlet. That's a little male. And that depression there, well, that's his nest. He's actually padded that out. He probably had a slight depression there, but he's pushed that down.
That's a big job for a little fella. Now in a nest, you'd expect to find some eggs, and I'm a little disappointed there's none here.
And you might think, why is a frog laying its eggs on the dirt? And that's the intriguing thing about this species. Now the trick that these frogs have, he sits in that nest, he calls females, they come, she lays her egg, he fertilises them, and then he sits there and guards that nest. Now the reason they do that is because they don't live near permanent water, their tadpoles have to hatch and morph into frogs really quickly. But my guess is that this rain that's coming now, it's sparked them into gear. It's early in the breeding season, so the fact there aren't any eggs in that nest means he's ready. He's built the nest, he's calling, he wants a female to come and she'll lay her eggs in there.
Great little characters, these fellas. Now, as always, I return him to his home just as I found him.
I'll cover him back up. Hope you get a girlfriend, little mate.
Now, from one end of the scale to the other, there are toadlets found all over Fraser Island. But one thing I'm glad I haven't seen up to this point is this beast. Behold the all-conquering cane toad.
Come here, mate. I don't normally stop for cane toads, but look at the size of that. Now, at the last little red-backed toadlet spot, a native Australian frog, I didn't see any cane toads and I was very happy about that. But a couple of k's up the road and there you go. That's the biggest one I've ever seen. He's sucking air in. When they're a little bit threatened, they take that air in, try and make themselves look bigger. This is one of the worst environmental disasters Australia has suffered. Introduced in the 1950s to try and eat a cane beetle, and now they devastate Australian wildlife. And I want to show you exactly how. It's because of these two bumps up on the shoulders. Now they're glands and they excrete a poison if the animal's stressed. Now for example, if I'm a python or a monitor or a mammal like a quoll and I try to eat a cane toad, now let's say a python, he's going to try and take it head first. And as soon as he opens his mouth over that cane toad's head, he hits the glands here. And you can already see, just in the time I've picked him up, he's excreting that poison out. Now, if I was to ingest that, I'd be in real strife. Maybe enough to kill me, certainly enough to kill our precious Australian wildlife. I've got to tell you, I don't like him, but I'm impressed.
Look at the size of it. I have never seen a toad so big. When did they get so big? There's no place for cane toads in the Australian environment, so I'm going to take him back to the ranger station. They can look after him. Great Southern Ocean, and I'm on my way out to meet one of the world's greatest predators. We set off early this morning from Port Lincoln in South Australia, and Captain Andrew has given me a little insight into what I'm about to encounter. It's been a 3-hour journey out to the Neptune Islands, where we'll soon be dropping anchor. The reason is right there on the rocks.
There's a healthy population of Australian sea lions and New Zealand fur seals right there on the island, and that's what brings the sharks here.
Great whites move around, never staying in the one spot too long. But the Neptune Islands offer such an abundance of food that one has been recorded hanging around for 92 days.
We're here in early December, right in the middle of the seals' breeding season. There's about 4,000 pups born here every year.
We're not banking on the seals putting their lives on the line for us, so the crew's chucking burley overboard to attract the sharks.
Great whites have an amazing sense of smell. They can detect just a few drops of blood in the water up to 5 kilometres away.
There's no chance this one was that far though. We've made contact within a few minutes.
We've just seen our first shark, and I knew something was going on because all of the seagulls here lifted and they just moved over there. And then out of the deep comes a big grey mass, our first shark. This place is alive. There's seals and their pups on the shore and in the water. There's birds everywhere. Tuna at the back of the boat, just chopping up the burley. It's easy to understand why the sharks are here. It's time for me to get suited up and in the water.
There's still no concrete data on how many great whites are left out in the oceans, so it's fair to say that whatever I see today, I should be grateful for.
It's my turn, into the deep blue, the great unknown.
Good luck.
This is just incredible. No sooner have I gone under and the sharks are here. Just look at them. No wonder they're the most feared animals in the ocean. The odds on being attacked by one of these terrifying fish are astronomically high. But can you imagine it? This is one of the scariest experiences out there. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking the behaviours I've just shown you are exactly how great whites are in the water, all snarling teeth and thrashing tails. Well, that's how they're usually depicted in the media, but let me show you how they can be. On the whole, these monsters of the deep just go about their business. Cruising around, they largely keep to themselves. Their main diet is fish, but look at these schools. They hardly seem bothered by the presence of their biggest predator. Now, that doesn't mean to say I'm going to jump in and have a swim with them, But don't be fooled by the continual feed of stories suggesting the oceans are filled with great whites, ready to devour anyone who pops a toe in the water.
That was truly amazing. They come out of nowhere and they're so big, but at the same time, graceful and majestic. But that Southern Ocean's cold. I need to get out of this wetsuit.
I can safely say that the experience will live with me for a lifetime, but it wasn't at all what I was expecting.
So, you know, at some points there, I was sort of hoping, not expecting, but hoping that a shark was going to, you know, butt into the cage and ram his head in and try and eat me. But they were in fact gentle and majestic and graceful, and you know, that I guess is a very different perspective, because most people would think they're going to try and eat them through the cage, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a whole raft of guidelines that, you know, that we've obviously got to abide by in doing the tours that we do, and minimising and certainly avoiding contact with the cage, between the cage and the animal, is right up high on that list sort of thing. So I mean, our guys work very hard to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Working with animals day in, day out, I get to witness individual characters. It's no different for Andrew and the sharks.
Who's the one there with half a fin?
Yeah, that's our old favourite. His name's Chopper. So it looks like he's had his dorsal fin, got the top of it chopped off. Yep. Whether it's from another shark or tangled up in something, and it's sort of chafed through. But no, he's fairly regular, that guy. He's up sort of 4.5 metres now. So he puts on a good show.
How many of them can you tell individually, and do you get the same sharks turn up?
Look, we get a lot of the same sharks. I mean, when they come to Neptune's, they turn up here for a period of time, become temporary resident because of the seal colony. Some will only stick around for a couple of days, some will stick around for up to a couple of months, actually. And like Chopper, for instance, I mean, he turned up again about 10 days, 2 weeks ago sort of thing, so hopefully he's here for a while longer.
And so that raises the importance of the other side of the work that you do. So you bring people out to have an experience with sharks, but you do a lot of research at the same time. What's involved in that?
I mean, a lot of the research is passive observation sort of thing that we make and record. I mean, we've got to log down all sorts of environmental factors to see if that plays a part. You know, weather conditions, wind, tide, all of that sort of stuff.
I see a behavioural change in them here now. When they go in, they're just cruising along so gently, and then they want a bit of food and the speed picks up. Do you get to know individual characters and how do behaviours change?
Look, they're all their own shark sort of thing. Like there's no one general characteristic sort of thing. And yes, it does change day by day. But you know, your sharks that are slow and almost lazy, I mean, they seem to always be like that. And then you've got the little guys that are just full of energy, like a 5-year-old kid that
like
are just
me.
Oh mate, they're just running around like madmen sort of thing.
5 sharks there at once a minute ago. Yes. Is that about as many as you'd expect on a day?
Oh, look, we're having a good day. I mean, today's certainly been above average, you know, shark-wise. I mean, we were quite lucky that, first shark turned up while we're doing the safety briefing. I mean, no one listens to safety briefing, but geez, first world problems, you know. So, but yeah, I think we're up to about 6 or 7 different sharks today, and as you said, 5 at once. I mean, to have 5 apex predators within your sight, you know, at one time is fantastic.
That's fantastic, and an experience I'll never forget.
They might be one of the most feared creatures on Earth. And let me tell you, when I was down there, my heart was racing, cage or no cage. But just being in their presence and experiencing their gentle nature, well, for me at least, that's turned my fear to respect.
Hey, Kel.
Hey,
What are you chopping up?
just some possum food. Bet I can guess where you're going.
Yeah, you got it. I'm heading to the crocodiles.
Are they hatched yet?
No, any day.
Good luck.
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
2 months later, and it's time to find out if those eggs have hatched.
Look at you. Amazing.
This is exactly what I've been hoping for. Baby waggle eyes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Successfully breeding this species is a world first.
Beautiful. I gotta call John. Tim to John.
Yeah, Tim.
Hey, John, you got to make your way up to the vending room. You're in for a little treat.
Yeah, okay. Yep, all right.
John Weigel, the reptile park owner, found and discovered this dwarf king brown species in the Kimberley region of Western Australia. That's why their last name is Weigeli, named after him. That's why it makes this not only a world first and a good achievement, but we're really proud because we've done this for John.
Hey, it is what I was hoping.
It certainly is.
This the Wildest?
Yep, all 6 hatched.
Well, isn't that great? That's
It
the
is.
first time in Australia. That's fantastic.
Watch out, mate. They're little but still pack a punch. I don't need to tell you that, do I?
This is very exciting, and when you work at a reptile park, this is the sort of thing that makes it worthwhile, because I know the guys have been working a long time trying to get some successful breeding from these snakes, and yeah, they put it together. It's fantastic.
These hatchlings are now important pioneers. If we can continue to breed them in captivity, maybe one day we can help the species if they're at risk in the wild.
I better set them up in their little enclosures.
Well, good on you. I gotta go back to my mundane world, but well done.
Well, you found the species.
Well, that was the easy part. Yeah, this
I don't
is
know.
this is the juicy part. Well done. That's very exciting.
Breeding the dwarf king browns is a real highlight, but being able to show them to John on top of that, well, just makes it better. He's really humble, but the fact is, he discovered this species, and it's a credit to the whole team here that we can proudly show them to him. The reptile park is all about fun. Kids and families getting up close and hands-on with wildlife. But we get to engage in some very cool conservation breeding projects, particularly with native wildlife. Now this here is a off-display bilby breeding facility, and the reptile park was lucky enough to receive our first ever 6 bilbies 5 months ago. This project has tangible outcomes. Bilbies that we breed go back to the wild. Now, not every project has the ability to do that, and it's all thanks to the Save the Bilby Fund. They manage Queensland bilbies, they manage the wild populations, they manage the free-range enclosures, which are big areas that are enclosed, through to the bilbies that are captively bred by people like us, and that's good work they do. Now, I'm inside one of the bilby breeding enclosures, and it's important with native wildlife that their enclosure and the habitat is the same as they would find it in the wild. Now, for bilbies, that means that they are able to dig. They are big burrowers. In this enclosure, I'm looking for one particular female, and I've got a good idea of where she might be hiding.
Out in the wild, they can dig a dozen or so of these burrows in their range. They're extensive networks of tunnels where they can escape predators and the intense heat of the desert day.
This is an artificial box. Now, whilst they've got access to the natural earth, this box is always dry and warm, and they love it. It's time to have a peek inside. Somebody's home. Big male, little female. Hey, come on, little darling. Here we go. There is a little female bilby. Very quiet, but she won't be afraid to give me a little bite if I don't hold it properly. And what I'm looking for is joeys. 5 months ago, 6 bilbies arrived here. 3 pairs, 3 boys, 3 girls, and they've all been together. Now what I'm expecting are little joeys inside this pouch. And obviously, having a pouch, they're marsupials. Now, would you believe it? The bilby gestation or pregnancy is somewhere between 11 and 14 days. That's right, days. It's one of the shortest gestation periods of any species on Earth. Now, pouch checking can be tricky. As you can see, she's very calm. And here's the pouch. Oh, look at that. We've got joeys. 1, 2, there's 2 little joeys. And they are the first bilbies that I or the reptile park have ever bred. And what a success. And Australia has the worst mammalian extinction rate on Earth. We've lost so many species, and bilbies in the wild now, very, very rare. They used to be common. And it's captive breeding like this and successful events that ensure a future for the species. And I think they're about, my guess would be 2 weeks old. And marsupials and bilbies that have such a short pregnancy have really small babies, pre-developed, and they develop inside the pouch. That's the whole point. So, as I calculated, we've got about 3 months, and we're going to have miniature replicas of Mum here running around. That's when I'll come back.
And this is the proud dad. He's perfectly demonstrating the bilby's digging technique.
And they are dirt movers, those front feet, thick like spades. And once they build up a little pile, the back feet push it out of the way. Now, bilbies are desert bandicoots. You know, they used to be found over 75% of this massive continent. Now, almost every wild population is extinct. And captive breeding is the only way to ensure their survival until perhaps a solution can be found in the wild. Now, their eyesight, very poor. When you're nocturnal, you don't always need the best vision, but their sense of smell is brilliant. They can smell predators, but also food, grubs, beetles, insects down in the soil. Now, their hearing is pretty sharp. Big ears to collect lots of sound. You can just see, and it's so sad that something like this that didn't evolve with predators like the feral fox and the feral cat doesn't stand a chance. I hope this is the real deal. We've been waiting a while.
Yeah, well, I can't believe she's only one.
I can't believe a visitor saw them mating and told us.
Oh, I know.
Didn't expect that.
We're very excited this morning. If things work out, we could have some new additions at the park.
Jules and I are heading down to look at Calla. Now, Calla is one of the park's most popular little girls. Now, she mated with Fred, and he's a black dingo from the Kimberley, very rare. We need to know if she's pregnant. Hello, guys. Hello. Hey, darling, how are you? Hey, Freddie boy, come here.
Hello.
It's fair to say that they've caught us off guard. Dina and Calla, the sisters, are only a year old. Fred's only 2. And whilst they're physically able, we didn't think they'd breed so soon. How are you? It's nice to see you too. Give me a kiss. From when they mate to when Calla will give birth, it's only 9 weeks. So now we're halfway through her pregnancy, if she's pregnant.
Come on, beautiful girl.
Door's open.
Good girl.
Do you want to
This
get
is the
Calla? I'll
Come
keep
on.
Adina busy.
Come here,
hey,
baby.
In that way, darling.
Come here.
There you go.
Good girl.
Thank you.
Well
Good girl.
done. Well done.
We got her. We keep the dingoes in a pack, just like they'd be in the wild. Now, if we're going to look at one of the dingoes, and today it's Calla, we need to pull them aside because in this yard there's dominance, hierarchy and social structure. And if the other 2 get jealous, that can end in a fight. You want to have a feel around?
Yeah, what do you reckon? She feels a little bit full.
I think she's full. And how do we know if it's last night's dinner or puppies?
Yeah, it's a bit early to tell, isn't it?
The teats, you know, are there. They're not swollen, but I mean, they're a little bit. I think we need to take it down to the vet.
Yeah, let's find out for sure.
You ready for a car ride? Do you want to grab the lead?
Yeah, for sure.
The reason we need to confirm she's pregnant halfway through her pregnancy, rather than just letting her have pups if she is because another female, even her own sister, could kill the pups under the wrong circumstances. We need to know if she's pregnant. That's her. Let's go. Say bye to your sister. Hey, you too. See ya, Fred. Look at him looking on. See ya, buddy. Come on. Good girl. Hey, Pete.
Morning, Tim.
How are you, mate?
Morning, Jules. I'm all right. Yourself?
We've got Calla.
Calla
the dingo.
the dingo. All right. We don't see a lot of those.
Nope.
Not in here, anyway.
We've had a feel, and we don't know whether we're feeling last night's dinner or puppies.
All right. I'll have a feel. We'll see how we go. Bring her in.
If our suspicions are right and Dr. Peter confirms a pregnancy, we've got a whole lot of work to do back at the park.
It's important to know that she's pregnant because we have to plan what we're going to do at the reptile park. She's a good girl. Dingo packs are very complex. There are hierarchies, and out in the wild, females will kill other females' pups.
Just listening to her chest. Okay.
Sound good?
She sounds excellent. I'm going to have a feel of her tummy now, so I might get right up the back of it, Tim, if you go up the front and I'll just hold it up there.
Sure.
Yeah. So I know what I'm feeling. There is one there. I can't feel a lot moving forward, which may mean there's only one pup there. It could also
You
mean
can feel
that,
a puppy?
I can feel a sack that if it's not a pup, she's got another problem, Tim.
Okay. Still doing ultrasound to be sure.
Yeah, I think so. It's nice to be confident.
You're going to be a mum. You're going to be a mum. I'm stoked. I'm over the moon. We've got puppies. This is exactly the news we wanted. And not just because we're happy about it, but now we know that she's going to be a mum, we can prepare for that. Is that what I think it is?
Yeah, that's on the to the left of screen there.
Yep.
You've got a pup.
Is there just one as you thought?
There may well be one across the other side, the next one along. So that's a second one, but it's further forward in the. But you can see the sack, you can see the wall of the sack, and you can see that, and everything looks good in here, Tim. All normal development for your time frame, that 4-week mark.
Is that yours?
Very good.
So we're going to be having hopefully at least 2 pups in about 5 weeks' time. That's pretty exciting. I've been there since they were, this big. So it's quite amazing to see, all the way through. She's going to have pups. Like, it's just amazing.
And everything else looks perfectly healthy?
Looks great. As normal as you'd want to see it at this stage.
Yep. Okay, well, we'll get her up home.
Very exciting, Tim.
Very exciting. Thank you, as always. See you later.
Okay.
Bye, mate.
See you, mate. See you, Jules.
I'll carry her out. She's a new mum now.
Hey, okay.
We don't want to make her walk too hard.
Dingoes are one of my greatest passions. In the wild, they're getting a really hard time. Their numbers are dramatically low and they're being wiped off the face of Australia. If we were to successfully breed them here, it helps boost their numbers, but more importantly, the little puppies can engage with people and remind people dingoes are good. We love dingoes. It's 3 months later and I'm back at the Reptile Park's Bilby breeding facility. 2 joeys born here need to be microchipped and given an identity.
Now, unlike their mum, young bilbies do not like artificial boxes. The only way for me to get them is to trap them. Now, the traps are a standard trap for small mammals. Very simple in design, but very effective. And the way it works is the door lifts up and inside there's a plate. And that plate sits up, and when the animal goes in, touches on the plate, releases the door, and you've got him. Some of the bilby's favourite food, right at the back. There we go. And we set the trigger. And lastly, I always like to just cover them in a bit. Just gives the bilby a sense of security whilst ever they're in there. One down, one to go.
They're actually omnivores, meaning they eat meat and plants. Whatever they find, they take a bite from. But one thing they don't do is drink water. They simply get all the moisture they need from their food. Next morning and I'm at work nice and early. If the little bilbies were trapped overnight, we have to release them as soon as possible. It gets hot here pretty early, and they would normally be down in the cool of their burrows at this time. So it's important I get them out.
I've got one. That is such a good feeling. I haven't seen that little fella, boy or girl, I don't know yet, for 3 months, when it was the size of a jelly bean. I'm going to check the other first. There's number 2. Our first thing is to get them out of these traps and into some soft bags. Okay, you want to try and limit this part to as little time as necessary in the trap while they're a bit worried. Come on, mate. Come here, matey. Oh, you've got sharp claws.
and teeth, I know it. You know it. Look at that. A baby bilby. What a sight. A very special moment for me. Okay, in you go. Will I get your brother or sister? One down, one to go.
Bilbies have been around for 15 million years, or at least that's the oldest fossil evidence found. So you can imagine having the next generation of something so old in my hand? Well, that's exciting stuff.
2 bilbies in the bag. Now I'm going to set myself up a little station. Diary, scales, microchip, and I'm going to give them an individual identity that'll be with each of them for their entire life. It's important that each animal in captivity has an individual identity. We need that to be able to monitor health and well-being through taking weights and observations, and also be able to genetically manage and make sure that there's no inbreeding within populations. That's what I'm doing now. It's time for bilby number 1. Now, whilst he or she is in the bag, I'm going to take a quick weight. That was 415 grams. Minus 70 that the bag weighs. 345 grams is our starting weight. And for this age, that's a good weight, a normal weight. Now they're out of the trap. They should settle down. They're normally very quiet, harmless little creatures that, hey, just go about their own way, unless you're a grub. Now, first thing, we have a little boy or a little girl. We've got a little girl. Okay, now it's time for a microchip. Now that part stings a little bit, but only lasts for a very short time. It's a razor sharp needle. They don't feel much, just a pinch. Inside this little needle is a microchip. It's tiny, about the size of a grain of rice, and it contains a number that'll live with this bilby forever. Now, that razor sharp needle will just penetrate the surface of the skin between the shoulder blades, and in goes the microchip.
When microchipping a bilby, it's just like when you take your dog to the vet. We put it right between the shoulder blades where the skin's loose.
Got it. Now we check that corresponds with the chip number, 3124. Perfect. Now all I need is a name. I'll save that till the end when I've got them both. All right, mate, that's you done for a minute. Thank you.
When they're eventually released into the wild, they'll be trapped and checked from time to time to see how they're going. Retaining genetic diversity is key to the success of any captive breeding program. Knowing the family lines and taking action to counter inbreeding is going to be an important factor in their future. That's why we need to chip every one of these incredible critters that's born at the park.
Now I need names, and I think we'll call one sister Windy after Windora, and the other Tina after Diamond Tina. They're 2 places out in Western Queensland where bilbies were once common. This is the next generation, the future. And without someone like the Save the Bilby Fund, the future would look a lot bleaker. I hope the next time I trap these 2, they're big enough and old enough that I can send them home to the desert. Aren't you gorgeous?
It's certainly been a busy time in the park's breeding programs, with one of our dingoes becoming a mum for the very first time. To a few more pups than we first thought.
A week ago, Adina gave birth to 5 beautiful little puppies. Now they're at a stage in development where their eyes have just opened. This is the first time today. Have you ever seen anything as beautiful as that? And she has been the best mum. From the moment they were born, she presented them, pushed them in so they could suckle. She's kept them warm. And 5 is a big litter. Dingoes normally only have 2 or 3 pups at most. And she's got her hands full. Now, dingoes, they're not like normal dogs. They breed at this time of year, winter time, every year, because winter time is hard for graziers like wombats, kangaroos. So a hard time for them means easy prey for dingoes. And also, the little puppies emerge and become independent in spring when there's lots of young, unsure prey for them to eat. And when they were born, they were about, half this size. They grow really quick. And domestic dogs, they stay with their mum a lot longer than dingoes because in the bush, you need to grow fast, you need to develop fast. Everything has to happen quickly to be able to survive. Hello, mate. Hey. And this socialisation with people is really important. These little puppies, not only are they part of a breeding program for an endangered species, which dingoes are, but they are the best wildlife ambassadors. My goal and role is to teach people that dingoes are friend, not foe. They have a really important place in Australian ecology. And when you've got something as beautiful as this, it really rams that message home. And I love them. Hey you. Hey you. Hey. Hello. 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 I've got one of the little puppies pushing against my leg. He can feel that bare flesh and thinks that I'm mum. He's looking for a teat. You won't find one there, mate. But where you will find one is there. Look at that, they're feeding now. Go on, in you go, you too. Good mum. And just look how comfortable she is with me. Now, a year ago, she was in my house with my kids, a little puppy, and now she's a mum. But it just reminds you that this is the real dingo. They're more scared of us than we are of them. And if we have a respect for one another, we can all get along. Go on, in you go, you too.
Queensland, home to 4.5 million people and growing. They live side by side and often in amongst some of the most diverse flora and fauna on the continent. And it's this state's abundance of natural heritage that contributes to Australia being one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet.
But just like across the rest of the nation, wildlife is suffering. Habitat destruction, climate change, introduced pests, and even disease are all playing a part in putting pressure on our native species.
And every new house built or business established is a potential blow to the wildlife that calls the Sunshine State home.
Now, you might have heard certain species can give insight to a particular ecosystem. Frogs do just that.
We can literally gauge the health of an environment by how well frogs are doing.
They're the first to succumb to pollution, disease, climate change. Frogs are our early warning system.
And with that being the case, alarm bells should be ringing because worldwide, a third of the 6,000 species of frog that are known to exist are threatened with extinction. And for many of the threatened species, they won't see out the next century unless something drastic happens to improve their situation.
If you think that's a bit alarmist, consider this. Around 120 frog species have been lost since the late 1970s. And 6 of them were from right here in Queensland. You've got the sharp-snouted day frog, the southern day frog, the mountain mist frog, the northern tinker frog, the northern and southern gastric brooding frogs. All gone.
It's the last of those frogs that for herpetologists across the world is the saddest of losses.
The gastric brooding frog was unique. Why? Well, the mother, after laying her eggs and mating, swallows her eggs, incubates them in her stomach, and then gives birth to fully formed froglets out of her mouth. The last of the southern variety was seen right here in the Blackhall Ranges in 1981, and that hasn't put off 50 surveys coming back here to try and rediscover the species.
The last of those was back in 2010, when a worldwide survey set out to document the survival status of 10 amphibian species not seen in over a decade. 100 researchers spent 6 months traversing some of the most remote regions on Earth, in 19 countries, 5 continents, to find species lost to science. There was some amazing success. The Mount Nimba reed frog in Ivory Coast, the Omaniundi reed frog in the Democratic Republic of Congo, both found after years of being thought extinct. No such luck with the gastric brooder though, but tonight I'm going to make it 51 surveys.
Given the fact that this frog hasn't been seen since before I was born, I don't have a lot of hope. But just like those other species, you never know.
The species was endemic to the forests and rainforests of southeast Queensland. Not all of them. It was only found between 350 and 800 metres above sea level in rocky mountain streams and pools.
They never ventured far from water. If it was raining, they might get bold and head up into the surrounding rocks a little bit, but essentially they're restricted to living along the creeks and streams.
Now, the craziest thing about the southern variety is it had only been discovered in 1972. That's 9 years from discovery to extinction. And coming at a time when frogs were dropping off the radar all around the world, you can imagine it had the experts worried.
At first, they put it down to climate change, but these are amphibians we're talking about. They've been on Earth for over 250 million years, so it's fair to say they can deal with climatic changes.
Queensland is home to Australia's largest variety of frog species. Their greatest concentration is between Cooktown and the Queensland-New South Wales border, which just so happens to be the area with the most rapidly expanding population in Australia.
Around 120 species of frog call Queensland home, but around a quarter of them are listed as threatened, endangered, or, like the gastric brooder, extinct.
At the time of the gastric brooding frog's extinction, where they lived wasn't suffering from the effects of pollution or habitat destruction, so what was killing them? It wasn't until a decade later that scientists discovered something called chytrid fungus. It's a gruesome death for any unfortunate amphibian that gets it. The most typical symptom is a thickening of the skin.
This is one of the barred frog species, and he's cruising around here on the rocks. It's only a juvenile. They're big when they're adults. This would have been a tadpole not so long ago. Now, like all frogs, it can breathe through its skin, absorb oxygen, and also secrete toxins, the bad stuff in the body, and get rid of it through its skin. The problem with that is chytrid fungus blocks their pores. Now, with that reduced oxygen, their condition begins to deteriorate. They suffocate and die slowly.
And that's what experts think happened to the southern gastric brooding frog.
Tonight's expedition to rediscover the gastric brooding frog wasn't exactly what you'd call a success. And in fact, it's a bit surreal and confronting to be somewhere where a species once lived and now is lost forever.
I'm off to Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary down on the state's border. They're working on frog husbandry techniques they hope will help save frogs from extinction. Professor Jean-Marc Hero has been studying frogs for over 20 years.
G'day, mate.
Oh, hi, Tim.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Let's go and have a look at some frogs.
And what species is in this room?
Well, here we have the Tordactylus liami, which is the tinker frog from Youngula.
And a species that's in real strife.
It is. It's like all of the Tordactylus, they've been severely declined. We've got several species completely disappeared, but luckily these ones are still around, but only just.
How many are in here?
Well, there's a number of adults and an unknown number of metamorphs because there's so many of them. There's something around 150 metamorphs that the Currumbin team have managed to breed here in captivity.
Okay, so what's the plan? What are we going to do now?
Always lots to do in here. We've got to feed them, we've got to clean them, we've got to find females, find males, put them together at the right time. So let's go and see if we can find a female.
Okay. This is the female?
Yeah.
One of the first things I notice in here is that it's cold, really clean, clear water and rocky. Most people imagine a frog pond to be muddy water, some reeds, frogs croaking everywhere, but what is it about this species that means they need this sort of environment?
Well, the ticket frogs are unusual. They're stream breeding frogs, so they don't live in swamps, they don't live in ponds. They really like crystal clear mountain streams, cool rainforest environments, and they hide and live under rocks. And that's where they lay their eggs, which is in a very secretive place. There we go.
You got her?
All right, so now that we've got her, we can hopefully see, you can see in her belly, she's got a belly full of eggs.
Look at that, I had no idea.
So it's very easy to tell if it's a female and if she's gravid, that's for sure.
And that's important that you observe this now to know to introduce a male when the time's right?
That's right, so if we look under and we see the eggs,
Look at that.
we know she's getting ready and it's time to find a male.
And they're all white.
Yeah, it's unusual. Most frogs' eggs have black on them to protect them from the sun, but because these frogs lay their eggs under rocks, they're all white. So the trick here is once we've started to breed them, we can breed them in captivity once, but the real hard question is, can we breed them twice? So can we get captive bred individuals to breed again? So that's what we're up to.
That's what you're trying to answer.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we going to do now?
Well, I think we should just, she's gravid, she's looking good and ready, we'll just measure and weigh her,
Okay.
and then we're ready to go.
Now we know our girl is ready to mate, all we have to do is pick a lucky bachelor, place her into his pad, and let nature do the rest.
There he is,
Oh, great.
under that rock.
Excellent. Okay. Well, let's put the female in with him, eh?
What do you think will happen now?
Well, what we can do is we can play some frog calls to get him excited and get him calling. They produce lots of eggs, and I've just got some here to show you what they look like because they're all white and unpigmented.
So she'll start to lay her eggs, they'll
She'll
be
lay
mating.
them under a rock in there, and then once they're ready to hatch, they'll turn into little tadpoles.
Look at that.
And this is what we've got here.
He's got legs.
Yeah, they grow up and metamorphose into little frogs, and then we put them into their own chambers.
Yeah?
Let's go and have a look at
Got a
that.
few in here.
So we keep them in these boxes. I've got one out just to show you how
Look at
tiny
that.
they really are.
And that right there's the next generation, and for some species, captive breeding might be the future.
Well, the hope is that if we can captive breed this species, we can captive breed other species that are even more endangered. But what we really should do is go and see some frogs in the field.
And I would love that.
It's heartening to see so much work going into making sure frogs remain a part of the environment. We're heading into the Gold Coast hinterland. The rainforest up here is perfect habitat for plenty of frog species.
This is it.
This is it.
It's beautiful.
And it's an awesome place to study.
What makes it suitable for endangered species still to exist?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that they need really good, untouched rainforest.
Have any species gone extinct from this area?
Not from this exact stream. We've still got some giant barred frogs. We've still got some flaze frogs.
Yeah.
A lot of frogs have declined and almost disappeared, but not completely
They're
gone.
still hanging on.
Yeah.
Okay, but a number of endangered species.
Yeah, and they've certainly disappeared from the highlands.
What's the plan now?
Right, well, we'll just sit and relax and wait for the sun to go down.
I can get this off.
Yeah.
Sit down.
The frogs won't be active until nightfall, so we've got a bit of time before the action begins.
One of the biggest threats to frogs is what we've seen on the way in here, which is habitat loss. And that's easy to mitigate because we've just got to stop cutting down the forest. Other more subtle effects, which are disease, chytridiomycosis, which is a fungal pathogen killing frogs all over the world. And now we've got this emerging threat of climate change, which works synergistically, which means that frogs become stressed from climate change and they're more vulnerable to disease. So it's the link which is really threatening frogs now.
And are there species that are more susceptible? Are there some that just transmit or transfer the disease? How does it work?
Great question. We're still trying to solve a lot of these mysteries as to why some frogs have disappeared and others have not. There are many reasons to explain why some frogs have survived. One of them is rather elusive, and that is that they have lots and lots of eggs, so they have large clutches. Other species live in microhabitats which are not good for the disease, for the chytrid fungus to grow. Other frogs have proteins on their skin which protect them from fungal pathogens, and so they kill the disease before it even takes them over. So there are many different factors which affect whether an individual species is affected or not. But what we do know is that some frogs carry it, and in this habitat we've got several frog species which have high prevalence of the disease but don't appear to be affected by it. Okay. And those frogs we're probably going to find tonight in greater abundance.
That bodes well for tonight's expedition. Now it's dark, the frogs are letting us know they're out and about.
Mark, frog. It's a bard.
Male or a female?
Well, it's bigger than the ones I'm used to, but I think it's a female. It's massive.
Oh, wow. Okay, I think you're going to need some gloves, Tim.
Female?
I think it's a female, all right. I don't get much bigger than that.
All right, gloves on.
Gloves on, let's get her. All right, and now one hand in front.
Yep. Got her.
Excellent.
What a frog.
Yeah, they don't get much better than this. Look at those big golden eyes. So that's a characteristic of this species, is those beautiful big golden eyes. Full webbing on the feet.
Ah, fully webbed, hey?
Look at that beautiful.
This must be twice the size of the greater bard that I'm used to.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. These are the biggest by mass of any frog in Australia. Great sexy thighs, you've got to show them that.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at those thighs.
So this is where they get their name?
Yeah, absolutely. The bars, and then this species has those beautiful yellow flecks, golden flecks.
How can you tell that's a female? You're familiar with them?
Well, just by the size, but the males also have nuptial pads.
Okay, in the
thigh,
she has none.
which she doesn't have, of course. So yeah, it's hard to see with tinker frogs. You can see the eggs through the belly, but with this one you can't.
Do we think that she's gravid because of that size?
I don't think so. I think this time she would have already laid her eggs.
Yes.
So she's just out feeding now, yolking up for next year.
Okay, let her go.
Sure. Hey Tim, look at this.
What do you got?
Oh, it's a little juvenile. It's just come out of the water not too long ago.
Oh yeah, look at him.
And I reckon you could get him.
You want to have a look at him?
Yeah. Awesome.
How old is that?
Well, by the look of that one, it's been out for a little while. He's lost his tail. And he's just...
Hold on, you're saying he's lost his tail like he's recently morphed from a tadpole to that? Are you kidding?
No, not at all. They come out pretty big.
Really?
They're really big metamorphs. And hasn't been out too long, maybe a month or two.
How good is that, finding a female that's probably been down here and bred, and now you've got the next generation?
Absolutely. So there's nothing better than finding females and finding juveniles.
We've got both.
We've got a good breeding population. And what's that we can hear? I think it's a male.
Is that walk?
Walk, walk, walk.
How good is that?
So the boys are still calling. Let's see if we can find one.
Oh, I'd love to. Is he right back where he was?
Yeah, sure.
Where you go, mate? He's off.
Two giant bards is a great find, especially as they're an endangered species.
I found another one.
What do you got?
I think it's a stony creek frog.
Well, it sure is. It's a male. You can see the big nuptial pads on his head.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And they're amazing because they turn bright yellow when they go into amplexus.
Okay. Any reason for that? So what, they grab a girl, they start mating and he turns yellow?
Well, yeah, it seems strange to be doing it before, so he's not going to be able to attract her. But what it is to keep other males away.
Oh, so that's a signal. I'm
Yeah.
mating.
That's a signal too. Let me go.
Let me go. Righto. And I'll do just that. There you go, mate.
This area seems to be thriving, just as we'd hoped.
What a beautiful find. That's one endangered, giant barred, and one threatened cascade tree frog.
Yep. The vocal pouch on these guys is not big and it's not easily to see unless it's inflated.
Okay, so there's no colour change in it either. It's just white like the rest of the belly?
Yeah, but
Okay.
you'll see he will have nuptial pads.
Yes. And that's full grown. What a sexy little frog.
It's as big as they get. Time to let him go.
Time to let him go. Or time for him to go.
There he goes.
It's getting late and time to head back.
I can hear an lotus.
You can hear a tusk frog?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe under one of these rocks here. I can just hear it. I think
Right in
he's
here.
under that rock there.
We've got a tusk frog here somewhere. And he's calling, but they're notoriously difficult to find and catch.
So, I'm going to lift the rock, you catch him.
Okay.
Ready?
Here he is. I got him. There we go. Look at that.
So this is the only frog in Australia where the males are bigger than the females.
Why's that?
Well, it's because they're fighting machines. They have big tusks on their lower jaws,
That's where the name comes from.
the tusk frog, and the males use it for male-to-male combat and to protect the pond and make sure that the females that come here are just for them.
You can tell he's a male right away by his size.
Yeah, and also by the size of his tusks. So the female has some very reduced tusks. But this guy was calling, so only male frogs call. Look at that beautiful mottling on
Look
the
at
belly.
that.
Look at that, and you can see the red on the thighs.
What a unique frog, and one I've wanted to see for a long time. Put him right back where he was. There you are, little mate.
I've had a great time up here in Queensland. Pity I never found the gastric brooding frog, but if you're ever up this way, keep an eye out. You never know.
As John Mark says, the survival of Earth depends on frogs. But it's up to us to make sure that frogs have a future. After what I've seen here tonight, there's hope for us all. Good night.
Great stuff.
One of the keepers, Mike, has called me and says there's a surprise in the cassowary yard. Surprise, cassowary, sounds interesting and could be very dangerous.
Surprise, she's popped an egg.
Hey, look at that. How long's that been there?
I've just seen it this morning. I don't know, I wasn't there yesterday.
Well. Cassowaries are really cryptic birds and not much is known about them in the wild or in captivity. So when an egg turns up in a yard, it's a bit of a surprise to say the least.
The thing is, our girl lives alone in her yard, and just like with chickens, there's no chance that egg can be fertile unless she's mated. And I know for a fact that hasn't happened. An egg, though, that's a promising sign.
We've had the female for 5 years. First egg she's ever laid.
I reckon this proud girl is now ready to mate.
And how's she?
Mate, she's prancing around. She's making herself nice and big.
First things first, let's go in and let's find out what she's going to do. I think she's going to be cranky.
I think she's going to be cranky too.
Settle down. Hey, settle down. Settle down, big girl. Not only are cassowaries arguably the world's most dangerous bird, but they recognise the uniform and they hate us. Every time you enter a cassowary yard, it's potentially dangerous. Their feet and those claws can rip you apart. Hey, settle down. Don't worry about the beak, that might give you a peck, but that's not the dangerous part. So if we can isolate the cassowary and keep it separate from keepers, we do it every time.
And I've got a good reason to be wary of these birds.
Cassowaries are massive and powerful birds, but that's not the only reason I'm nervous of them. When I was 16, I copped a claw from a cassowary. Now, I need to say that that's in a captive environment and we were catching that bird to transport to another organisation. In the wild, they're really peaceful, but put into that type contact with a keeper and that's the result.
Meanwhile, next door, our male is looking keen. He's not stupid. He knows something's up.
Look at her, look. Yeah. She's presenting to him. Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that.
How is the
Trying to be mated.
Look at this.
Look, these two cassowaries, male and female, live next to each other, separated by a fence. She's laid an egg, which means she's reproductively active. It's her first egg ever. We need to have a look at that egg, check the yard out, and then let them do their thing, put them in together, stand back and observe. We have to get in. Of all the animals in the park, she's one of the most dangerous. I mean, we've got venomous snakes and saltwater crocodiles, but you also don't put yourself quite as close to them as you do her. Now, it's controlled, but it's scary. I normally don't mind being in and around the cassowaries. I'll have a shield or a rake, but at the minute, you can feel it's tense. Even though she's standing still, they go from 0 to 100 in a second. And I'm ready to get out that gate. Watch your back on that fence, boys. Watch your back on that fence.
The trouble is, our boy's now hovering dangerously close.
Hey, look at this. Look to the left. Look, 4 eggs. Look at that. So this one's rolled out. We enter the enclosure, walk down to where the egg's laying. Straight away you can see there's another 4 eggs to the left in a nest. Unbelievable, 5 eggs. This egg was out in the open and it's the freshest egg because they come out fluoro green. And as they start to age, they get duller. There's 5 eggs laid 2 days apart from each other. And so this egg's out in the open. Maybe she's laid it there and hasn't rolled it in, or maybe she laid it here and it's rolled out.
This clutch of eggs and all that presenting to the male means she's definitely ready to mate.
Look at that. She's just done something amazing. She's gone and sat down near the male and she wants him to mate with her. She's soliciting the male to come and mate. We'll get on out and let the male in. Oh, good girl.
There's no problem tempting in our male. We just have to
Got up.
open up the fence. He's in. No hanging about.
Hey, he's coming, guys.
But here is where the tension really rises. This is Burra in South Australia. I'm here to meet Torben Nielsen. He's got a particular interest in one of our native species.
G'day, mate.
How are you, Tim?
I'm well. Who's this?
This is Roxy. She'll be helping us today.
Oh, yeah? And we going fishing?
Yeah, sort of.
Let's go.
These rolling grassland hills stretch for miles across the middle of South Australia. They've provided farmers with perfect conditions for sheep grazing for nearly 2 centuries. But that's come at a cost. Torben's out here, a long way from his home in Denmark, studying the pygmy blue-tongued lizard, which until recently was believed extinct.
The pygmy blue-tongued skink was discovered and described in 1863, and it was seen regularly up until 1959. But for some decades after that, it disappeared and was presumed extinct. That is, until 1992, when it was rediscovered. 2 biologists were driving along the road out here, and they saw and stopped at a snake. Now, it turns out that that snake had been hit by a car. It was a brown snake, and its stomach had popped. And guess what was inside? A pygmy blue-tongued lizard. That prompted a thorough search of the surrounding area.
I've been wanting to meet one of these critters for years now. We have all sorts of reptiles at the park, but the pygmy blue-tongue isn't one of them. So today, it's pretty special to me.
So, Torben, how does this actually work?
Roxy is our pygmy blue-tongued lizard detection dog. So she is trained to sniff out lizards because they live in these little burrows in the ground, sometimes under the grass, and it can be hard to see. And she can sniff them out even when we can't see them.
So she's trained to specifically pick up the scent of pygmy blue-tongued lizards?
Yes, she is. And we have done some experiments with her where she is distinguishing between pygmy blue-tongues and related species like the sleepy lizard.
Yes.
And also the bearded dragon. So she doesn't actually react to those, but she reacts to the pygmy blue-tongue scent.
Okay, well, you better show me how she does it work.
We'll see what you want to do today. Roxy.
As Torben says, the lizards make their home in burrows. Not just any old hole, these unique little creatures live down spider burrows. 32 populations of the pygmy blue tongue have now been located in the region. That may sound a lot, but it's only on this land outside Burra that they're protected.
Ready?
Oh, she's onto something?
Yeah.
She found one?
Yes, that's burrow.
So where is it?
You can see the burrows. You can see the burrows in the hole
Look
right
at
there.
that. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. That is amazing. Look at this. Right there is the burrow of a pygmy blue-tongued lizard found by that dog.
I guess the Danes have a slightly different way of congratulating their dogs. All the same, it's an amazing skill Roxy has.
If you just hold on to her, I'll just
Yes.
see if there is a lizard in it.
Okay.
She can occasionally indicate on burrows where there was a lizard in lately.
So that's a little endoscope?
That's an endoscope, so you can actually see what's inside.
Good girl.
Yep, there's a lizard sitting in there.
Can I have a look?
Yep. If you look through that piece.
Stay there, Roxy.
Can you see him?
Holy moly. Look at that. It's just unbelievable. I don't know what's more unbelievable, the fact that Roxy found that, or that there's one in there.
With another lizard found, it's home marked and ready to be added to the database. Torben has another trick up his sleeve that he wants to show me. I've got to say, a lizard detection dog is going to take some beating. I've been wondering what the fishing rod was for. I think I'm getting an idea now.
This is our burrow?
Yeah, so here's a burrow where we know there's a lizard in. Yep. And now we're going to go fishing.
All right, well, I'm very keen to see you do this.
The idea here is to get the lizard to latch onto the mealworm. Then Torben will give him a yank and out he'll pop. Well, that's the plan. This fella has got other ideas though. Second worm in. Come on, come on. This boy's played the game before. He knows how to grab a free meal. Oh well, let him be. Torben's off now to find a more willing participant. We've got a delicate situation on our hands down at the cassowary enclosure. Our girl has laid some eggs, so we're taking the opportunity to introduce our male. But pairing up cassos is never easy.
Keep it there, Mike. Just push him back a bit, mate. Push him back a little bit. That's just watch out. His aggression could go through the roof right now. Okay, that's far enough for us, boys. So let's just hold a line here. Breeding cassowaries in captivity and knowing how to breed cassowaries in captivity is now critical. There are less than 1,000 cassowaries in the wild, and that number is steadily decreasing. If the cassowaries were reliant upon the captive population for their survival, at this point in time, we don't know enough. We're not very good at it, but we're learning. And exercises like this and successful matings mean we know how to do it, and if we need to secure the species in captivity, we can.
I need to make sure we're well placed to break up any aggression today. I don't want a repeat of last time.
This could still turn into a fight. The signs here are really encouraging, but last time this exact pair introduced, the male got the female into a corner. He's almost half her size, and he just kicked 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, settle down, you. We had to get in, break it up, separate the cassowaries,
and that's terrifying, and then push the male back into a separate yard. Okay, now he's here. Let's back up a bit. This could take hours. There are stories of cassowaries being introduced and mating in 15 minutes, but certainly not here. But this is a good introduction, it's going well. There's nothing more we can do except sit, watch and wait, and we're watching for a fight more so than a mating. The mating's interesting, but if we see a fight, we're in there and we're separated.
There he goes, he's up. Yeah, she's taking him for a walk now.
He's picked up the pace now, he's right on her tail. And good signs. Here he comes. That's a boy.
All's calm for the moment.
All's calm. Not a lot's known about cassowaries, and in particular, their mating ritual, but what we do know is that the female solicits the male. She'll begin to walk, fluff her behind up, and indicate that she wants to be mated with. She's twice his size, it's no wonder he's a little intimidated.
Cassowaries don't get the reputation of being the world's most dangerous bird for no reason. It's serious, they are very, very dangerous, and we've got to be absolutely as careful as we can. This could still go pear-shaped, so essentially, we never relax in this situation. There you go, look at that.
We've left them in there, and it's going well. They're both calm, and they're courting. So the female is leading the male around, and he's now hot on her heels. He's zigzagging behind her. He's gonna do it.
And then all of a sudden, the female makes a move. She sits, and it's an open invitation for the male to mate.
That's exactly what we're after. They're mating right now. That's the male on top. And the female's just gone and sat down. First time I've ever seen it this close. And a far cry from last time's fight. And it's amazing how such an aggressive bird that we've seen fight previously can be so gentle. I'm so happy with how today went. There was Mike, Nick, Obi and I, and for all of us as keepers, we love our animals. And to see that is something we've never seen before, may not see again.
I'm on the rolling grasslands of South Australia with reptile researcher Torben Nielsen. He's come up with a novel way of luring pygmy blue-tongue lizards from their lairs. Straight down the hole for this worm. Not quite sure if anyone is home. Whoop. Well, at least that proves someone is down there. And here it comes. It must be hungry. Straight out of the burrow and into Torben's hand.
You got her.
I got her.
Unbelievable. Well done, mate.
Little female. Oh, actually, big female when it comes to these.
And can you tell it's a female physically or because of that belly?
You can tell she's a female, partly because of the belly, but partly because of the females are a little bit different from the males.
Okay.
They have a longer body and a smaller head.
Yes.
Basically, smaller head, smaller tail, smaller feet,
Yeah.
but a longer body because they need to have babies inside.
Okay, and you can see that. She's also carrying babies.
She seemed to be carrying babies. You can see there are like there's bumps on the back of her body here, especially when she moves a little bit. And that's actually because most likely because there's something in her.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she has been feeding on some very big grasshoppers lately, but she should be pregnant.
Yes. I got to admit, I'm a little speechless because, you know, things that have been lost, like the night parrot and found, pygmy blue tongues and found. I don't think there's much hope for thylacines, but, you know, it's incredible that something can be lost for so long and found, and here it is now.
Yes. Well, it's probably got something to do with no one thought to look inside a spider burrow for these little guys.
That's the only place they live, hey?
It's the only place they live. They do occasionally go into little cracks in the earth, something like that, temporarily, but spider burrows seem to be their only permanent residence.
And tell me, I've heard that they kick the original resident out?
Yes.
And then move in. What actually happens there?
They can find burrows that are empty. There are plenty of burrows around here that are empty, but it does seem that if they find a burrow with a spider in it, then the spider, it's a bad deal for the spider. The spider gets kicked out and in the process often get eaten.
Yes. And tell me, they're coming out head first, which means, is there a hole down the bottom or are they backing in?
A lot of the burrows have a little extension or a little widening somewhere. These are incredibly flexible. The only thing, you can almost make a knot on them. The only thing that can't flex is the head. So often they go down and they find a place and they turn around. But we also have footage of lizards coming in, moving into a burrow, reversing out, turning around and sticking the tail in and moving in like that.
We'll take some measurements of our girl later. But now, it's my turn to grab my first pygmy blue tongue.
I'll fish and you catch.
All right, I've got to tell you, I'm a bit nervous because I've seen the master do it. the pressure's on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
We've definitely got him interested. Only a matter of time. Look at it devour that worm. That's just amazing. It's so tempting to go for the lizard when he pops his head out, but this is a waiting game. He's not stupid and he's really quick. I've got to bide my time. Got him!
Look at that.
Yeah, they got plenty of confidence.
Plenty of confidence. Oh, well, that's one thing I'm happy to be bitten by. Look at that. And that's another female?
What do you see here? No, that's actually a male.
Oh, that's a male?
That's a male.
We got a pair.
You'll see pretty big head.
Yeah.
Very short body.
Yes.
And you'll find that it has a very long tail.
Okay. I can see that body tapers right in, whereas that last female had a rounded belly and bigger shoulders.
Let's see if we can see. You can actually see there's a little bump here.
I can, yeah.
We are a bit past the mating season, but you can see there's a bump on both sides, which is his hemipenises.
Yes.
And that's what you can see on the males as well, but that's only because we're close to the mating season. In the middle of the season you won't see him. But this is actually a male.
Look at you. Just incredible to think that they were missing for so long and
everyone thought they were extinct, yeah?
And they're here.
As with all new finds, Torben needs to collect some data, so it's back to the car.
Okay, will we take him down for processing?
Yep.
You're looking at one happy boy here.
Well, I'm glad that these little guys can make you happy.
They do. Spectacular lab you've got.
Yeah, it's quite a nice place. Quite a bit better than any inside lab anywhere.
Agreed. Now, before we get the data, tell me about the research that you're doing.
My main project here is aimed at figuring out how lizards respond to grazing. We've had grazing on most of these lands for like over 100 years.
Yeah.
So clearly the lizards can take some kind of grazing. So what I'm looking at is what's the ideal amount of grazing and how do we make a system so that we can have both sheep and lizards in the same land.
I reckon they're in pretty good hands, mate. Shall we get a bit of data now?
Let's get a bit of data on these guys.
The babies are live-born, and they're little copies of their parents. I say little, they're actually about 4 centimetres, which compared to their mother is pretty big. They don't hang around very long. After a week, maybe 4 at most, they disperse to find their own burrows. Torben reckons with a little bit of help, the future for the pygmy blue tongue is bright. There's likely to be relocations down the line of some populations, but increased awareness amongst landholders with an interest in their conservation means these amazing little creatures will continue to survive in these rolling hills for generations to come. Now all that's left is to make sure this little girl gets home.
There's the hole. Right in there, hey?
Yep, right in there.
I've been waiting a long time to see one of them, and that was brilliant. Good on you, mate.
You're welcome.
These are the magnificent Napier Ranges in Western Australia. Home to the Bonuba people, who've inhabited this entire region for thousands of years. They stretch northwesterly for 100 kilometres from Geeky Gorge, and for me, they represent some of the most stunning scenery on our continent. 3 other ranges, the Oscar, Emmanuel and Pillara, together with the Napier, are all that's left of a once vast coral reef that was submerged beneath the sea right here 350 million years ago. Amazingly, even after hundreds of millions of years, there's still proof of ancient sea creatures when right where I'm standing was once an ocean.
These limestone walls are filled with vast amounts of ancient fossilised life forms.
Fossils that offer a brilliant insight into the development of life on Earth. It's regarded as one of the world's best preserved reefs of the Devonian period. Some of the remains belong to that of the go-go fish, an animal whose discovery revolutionised the timeline of human history by presenting the first ever evidence of live birth. The amazing go-go fish discovery has put the Napier Ranges on the evolutionary map. Evidence of its existence has been discovered all through the ranges, including right here.
This is the majestic Windjana Gorge, and isn't it just beautiful? It's easy to see why the Bonuba revere it so much. To them, it's a monumentally spiritual place.
The Windjana are powerful creation spirits that, according to the Bonuba, call this place home. Those limestone walls rise 100 metres high and are the same again across at their widest point.
I'm here at the end of the dry season, and the water's at the lowest it's been for a year. But it's the best time to see wildlife, because as the water contracts, they cling to it. When it floods, and you can see just how high it gets with the watermark on the rock face behind me.
The same rock face that offers a glimpse into a time when this area was teeming with aquatic life, like the go-go fish.
But that's not why I'm here. What I'm here for is still very much alive, and it puts on a spectacle. These are freshwater, or Johnson's River crocodiles, but I just call them freshies.
They might look like they're living the high life, but unfortunately for this lot, their very existence is under threat.
I'm afraid it's that old problem, the cane toad. They've managed to find their way across the whole top end, and reports suggest it's only a matter of time before they arrive at Windjana.
Pretty much everything that tries to eat a cane toad dies. No questions asked, it's over.
The problem is, the cane toad is a perfect size for a snack, and let's face it, the poor old freshie doesn't know any better.
Freshies are relatively small in the world of crocodilians. Males grow up to 3 metres, and females about 1 metre shorter than that.
They're fish eaters, and that long, thin snout with razor-sharp teeth is designed to catch and penetrate the scales of fish. There's at least 200 freshies just in this water body. Now, I wouldn't say they necessarily get along. There are dominant males that are obvious because they're back sitting proud of the water, and they're letting everyone know that they're the big croc. Big crocs are dominant, small crocs less dominant. If you go too close to a big male, he'll certainly bite you, and if you're small enough, he'll eat you. Less than 1 in 100 hatchlings makes it past the first year of life. Freshwater crocs differ from their larger cousins, saltwater crocodiles, by the fact that they're restricted to freshwater. A full-grown male freshie only gets to 3 metres opposed to 6 metres of a salty, and by nature, they're less aggressive. Attacks on humans from freshies are pretty rare. When they do happen, there's only 2 scenarios. Someone's gone swimming, too close, maybe trodden on them, bumped into them, and they've copped a bite, or you've got a big territorial male, and like any animal, they'll defend their turf. It's about to get dark, and every night something totally wild happens right here.
Roosting up in the trees during the day is the local population of fruit bats.
These are little red flying fox, and this is a daytime roost. Now, their goal through the day is to escape the hot sun and stay cool in the shade. But for some of them, the heat's just too much, and they must get a drink before they head out to feed. And when they do, they come here. This is the last remaining decent body of water along this stretch. When the bats come down to drink, they can't walk on the ground, so they fly. They actually hit the surface of the water with their chest, and that becomes wet. Then they continue to fly, and they lick that water off their breasts, and that's how they have a drink. The danger is having a drink with 200 crocodiles in this pond. Now, the crocs get in the middle where all the bats are going to hit, and they sit there, mouth open, ready to snap any bat that comes within strike zone. Now, freshwater crocs are fish-eating specialists, but when something like a bat, an easy meal, drops in on your doorstep, how can you say no?
For the fruit bats, it's a dangerous game of chicken. With thirsty bats and a setting sun at Winjana Gorge, it's showtime. For the most part, the cheeky bats get away with it, scot-free. Their flight paths are so close to the hungry crocs, but after a few close calls,
The show's over, and I've seen a lot of things in my travels, but that is truly special. The crocs went nuts. Leave the boxes here. We'll jump in and get our traps.
it's a special day here for us at the Australian Reptile Park. My colleague Nick is helping me round up 3 Tassie devils that are going to help us with some groundbreaking research down at Sydney University.
We've got someone. Tasmanian devils are suffering from a disease called devil facial tumour disease, and it's sending them to extinction. Hello, mate. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Got him? Yep. 1 devil from 1 trap. That's a good start. Now I need to check the rest.
We've lost over 90% of the devil population to disease. It's just devastating. So it's a real race against time to find a solution.
Door shut.
Someone's home.
Got a devil?
Yep, definitely.
Beautiful. Let's have a look. Hello, mate. I'm really excited today because research is something that I don't normally do. 1, 2, 3. So to see how it happens and see the scientists working at trying to establish answers and causes and maybe ways that we can save the devil, vaccines or a cure, that's got to be a good thing. I was worried last night that we wouldn't get anyone. We're 2 out of 2. Fingers crossed, we get number 3.
I reckon we're a fair chance.
It was too good to be true. We're empty. Trap number 3, the bait's been removed, but the door hasn't gone down. False alarm. Next trap. Door shut.
Beautiful.
And we have a devil.
Nice.
That's the 3 devils we need. Now we need to box them and get them to Sydney. Right, 1, 2, 3. Now it's time for the serious business. Down to Sydney, they're going to be anaesthetised, have bloods taken, get CAT scans to have a look at some of the internal organs, and it's not something that I've ever seen before. Today's research is looking into the devil's disease, devil facial tumour disease. The species is facing extinction, and any clues or insights as to what might be causing this disease or how we can prevent it or cure it, that's what we want to be involved in.
Thankfully, we got the devils safely to Sydney University, where I'm meeting up with Professor Kathy Belov, who's running a research study.
G'day, Kathy.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm good, how about you?
I'm good. So Tim's brought these devils in from the Australian Reptile Park because they're going to be part of a long-term study with us. What we've noticed is that young devils don't tend to catch devil facial tumour disease.
Look at that. We've got a little boy. So we'll pop him in the sack. 1, 2, 3. What's going to happen today is the devils will receive an anaesthetic that'll put them to sleep. Then they'll quickly take blood, but the main reason we're here is to put them through a CAT scan machine, to have a CT. Okay, so there's the head. Now it's time to anaesthetise him. And the best and calmest way to do that is to leave him inside the bag, get his nose into a corner and present the mask. And he feels like he's going floppy now.
This is the Napier Ranges in Western Australia. Yesterday, I was at Windjana Gorge where freshwater crocs are under threat from cane toad invasion. The sun rises early out here and the days are hot, so I'm keen to get moving.
Just down the road from Windjana is Tunnel Creek. That's where I'm off to now.
The creek's formation is the result of river water cutting a 750-metre long tunnel through the rock.
This is another highly significant place to the Bunuba people, and not just because of its Dreamtime stories.
The story of Jundamurra is legendary. An Aboriginal man who led a rebellion against invaders in defence of his people's country and culture. But his story isn't quite as simple as that.
He grew up on a cattle station where he learned to ride, shoot and speak English. But later he got into some trouble and he did a bit of time in jail. But after that, the local policeman, Bill Richardson, employed him as a tracker and actually helped to capture many of his own people.
Unable to neglect his heritage, he turned the gun on Richardson and returned to his people. For years, he led a guerrilla movement against the Europeans.
A battle back up at Windjana saw him badly wounded. But a miraculous recovery only enhanced his reputation. Thereafter, amongst his own people, he was thought to be immortal.
But in 1897, police enlisted a legendary tracker called Mingo Mick, who caught up with the mob in their hideout, right here in Tunnel Creek.
At the age of 24, Jundamurra's time was up. But his legend continues to this day.
In addition to its spiritual importance, Tunnel Creek's wildlife makes it particularly special. But to see it, I'm going to have to delve deeper.
It's time for me to head in the tunnel. And it looks like somebody's already left me a track.
This unique environment harbours all sorts of creatures, fish, crustaceans and various bat species.
The bats use the limestone caves because they maintain a constant warm temperature and there's plenty of humidity. And what's amazing is that they fly around here in the pitch dark with echolocation. Now, most of these species are not audible to the human ear, so I can't hear them making a sound, but they're bouncing little sounds off the walls and that builds a picture of where they're flying and what it looks like.
Not only are these sound waves helping the bats fly without bumping into things, they also tell them where their predators and prey are. Here's the first colony of bats, and let me tell you, this is a real treat. They're ghost bats and they're a rare endemic to Australia's north. They get their name from the thin membrane that makes up their wing, and when flying at night, it looks ghostly. These bats really are the stuff of nightmares. Well, at least for mice, birds, geckos, small snakes and other bats. When they grab their prey, they'll hold them down with their thumb claws and kill them with one bite to the neck.
I come to a section of the cave where a large portion of it has collapsed, so there's a big pocket of daylight. And above that are some black flying foxes, and they're roosting there. But something I wasn't aware of, and I certainly didn't know existed in this cave system, is there's a colony of black flying fox inside the cave. Now, flying foxes may be similar to microbats in that they're both bats, but flying foxes are fruit eaters and they generally roost in trees. I've never seen anything like that.
Living alongside the flying foxes are common bent-wing bats. During the day, they hide within the cracks and crevices, so sightings are uncommon. But there's something else that lives here, even deeper in the dark, that I'm determined to find.
There's some more tracks here. Somebody's showing me the way. Here's a track, and it goes right into the water, and there's a freshwater croc, just like his mates up at Winjana, except here they've found a niche in a cave system. And freshies are fish specialists, that's what they eat. But I think in here they've found a niche where they're eating bats. Maybe the fruit bat babies drop into the water, or microbat dies and drops into the water. I'm starting to realise they're a little bit more adaptable than I thought they were. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 freshwater crocodiles in here, at least. I can see that many. And it's near pitch dark. Found a spot in the middle where the roof of the cave had collapsed and there was a little bit of sun and heaps of freshie tracks. So they've figured out how to get their sun and vitamin D, but they're thriving in this cave.
They're one of only 3 known subterranean croc populations in the world. And just like the others, a lack of sunlight means they've developed a much paler coloration.
That light down there, that's the end of the tunnel. And I found what I came to see in here, and in fact learn a few things. I've never seen fruit bats roosting in a cave. And the freshwater crocs, well, they're a little more versatile than I had thought. It's nice to learn something. That's the end of the journey for me. And he feels like he's going floppy now.
We've brought 3 Tassie devils to Sydney University to help out with a research project that's looking into the effects of the devastating devil facial tumour disease.
Not every day you get a devil here.
A CT scan is going to give us a great, detailed look at a healthy young devil. But, in particular, it's hopefully going to show us an important organ in their chest called a thymus.
Now, the thymus in young mammals produces everything you need for a healthy immune system. But the thymus dies at about the age of 2. Interestingly, young devils under the age of 2 seem not to get the disease.
Okay, so we're good there.
If they can find out why and figure out what the thymus is doing, marry that up with the bloods and understand what's in the blood and what's being produced by the thymus, we could come up with some answers.
We should be now coming into the shoulders. And most interesting is now we're going to be very close to where we are expecting to see the thymus.
This is incredibly exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking. It's the first time we might actually get some details about the deadly tumour that's killing so many Tassie devils.
And that's what a devil looks like through a CT scan. Look at that.
So basically, this is the head, this is the heart, and then the thymus should be located here.
This study is critical because devils are threatened with extinction because of a contagious cancer, and we need to understand how their immune system works to be able to develop a vaccine, or at least to understand why devils don't mount an immune response against it.
We are just there, and this is the thymus.
Fantastic.
Well, I'm glad you found one.
And now we can watch it over time.
Look at that.
We're wondering whether these young animals are somehow protected from devil facial tumour disease by the immune system, and that's why we're trying to understand how the immune system works, particularly in young animals, and then how it changes as the animals age.
Hello, mate. This one's awake now, and that's very comforting because to see him asleep there on the table, well, it's rather confronting and not something I'm used to, but he's waking up, he's having a sniff, and he looks great.
With the first scan a success, we have 2 more young devils to go.
Okay.
This is a little girl. Hello, darling. You're very important at the moment.
That's good.
The second devil's in now, and it's a little female, and I feel a lot more comfortable now. The boy went through, it was successful, everyone was a bit tense, but now, after seeing the thymus and seeing some results, it really makes it worthwhile.
Okay, we have the thymus there.
That's 2 down, 1 to go. 1, 2, 3. Here we go, number 3.
These studies are critically important because we need to understand why their immune system doesn't fight back, but also to ultimately develop vaccines down the track.
Okay, do we have a thymus?
Let's see. I think that's the first rib there, and that's the area that we are interested in.
Well, that is phenomenal, but is that number 3 waking up?
I think so, so we better go there.
What a relief, and such a promising start to help better understand the disease.
Today seems like a great success. Everyone is buzzing, and who knows what we just might find with the results. All right, there you go, little one. Thank you. She's up. Well, that's it. I'm really happy. I'm happy to see you guys happy.
And I'm looking forward to seeing these 3 back every 2 months for the next year or so.
Yeah, well, I'll come on down again, and who knows what we might find.